Okay, today our lecture is about Mahāyāna, Introduction to Mahāyāna Buddhism. It's actually comparison with Theravāda. It's a very interesting topic, as many of you already have an idea of what is it about. And then as a practitioner Buddhist, we should know about the other sect, what they are practicing, and then what kind of sutta or what kind of practices they are different from Theravāda. So it's an eye-opener for those who have very little information, but this will enlighten you. And then as you associate with these Mahāyāna practices, you will see, especially those with very short-minded one, they always tend to criticize Theravāda. So we don't practice that kind. We have an understanding of it, and then understand their shortfall, and then we practice what mind our own business, practice what we are known. So I hope you all don't get import all those things into Theravāda, and then you make yourself a rojak, and then you yourself get confused with Buddhism. Okay, so stick with Theravāda, what you have learned, and practice it. Okay, those other things we just have appreciate it, and then have knowledge of it. Then as we get along with our practice, then we won't have mental block. Okay, so at least we know what is the other sex practices about. So introduction is very brief. Okay, we know only surface. Unless you go for degree level, then you will touch on the Mahāyāna stuff. Okay, we just have a surface level only. Very interesting topic. It's an eye-opener for those who have very little knowledge about Mahāyāna. So we have a trace of what are the origins and historical development. What is it about? First, Theravāda. The word Theravāda means teaching our elders. And when Theravāda claims to preserve the original teaching of the Buddha as recorded in the Pali Canon as the oldest Buddhist scripture. We try to say as original as what Buddha practiced during the 6th BC. Okay, but how much original when you go for study, especially in the degree, we look into things that are questionable. Okay, unless you pursue a degree, then you will understand that. Other than that, for those YMBA, we don't go detail on that. And then remember, at the second Buddhist Council, it became dominant, especially in Sri Lanka and also to Southeast Asia, like Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos. Okay? This can be seen during the period of Ashoka, Third Buddhist Council. The Second Buddhist Council is claimed to be a rising of the Mahāyāna. Okay? And then Mahāyāna. Maha means big. So it means a great vehicle, a big vehicle. And developed later around, came to be 1st century BCE. And the reformist movement that incorporates newer texts like the Prajna Paramita Sutra. This is talking about wisdom one. And also the Lotus Sutra. So in Mahāyāna, they're very proud of this sutta. They claim is the most outstanding among all the Buddhist sects. So you see the Mahāyāna, upon Buddha passing away, the Theravāda start decline, and then later move to so-called to the southern part into Ceylon or what present-day Sri Lanka. But when you do a Buddhist study, especially degree level, you understand how the declining part towards the declining of Buddhism it spread northward towards the East Asia, to China, Japan, Korea, and Tibet. Korea and Vietnam. And Tibet is the last one. Before we spread Tibet, and they adopted another sort of slightly different from the Mahayana, and then they practice things like Tantra, all that. And then that's why we got the Vajrayana, called the Tibetan Buddhism. So when they spread to the east side, and then to Tibet, many things of the local culture are adopted, especially their gods. They became the Bodhisattva, and then they're incorporated into Buddhism. Okay, so all these things, when you go further study on the Mahayana, you will see this transformation. And then we see some more about this, the core belief and goals. So here, Theravāda, the main aim, Theravāda, objective, is for individual liberation to become an Arahat. Arahat is not Buddha, is slightly below Buddha, but is enlightened being. A perfect person who achieved Nirvana. That means he already completed this life cycle, and upon his existence, he will go to the path of Nirvana, view the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, so this is typically Theravāda saying, when you practice, come to a state, you get liberated, become Arahant, that state. Then if not, then you go to the other sainthood, the 7 life one, then non-returner, and that's all. Okay, and then this is the path which every Theravāda try to seek. So Theravāda focus on self-effort. That means Buddha already give you a teaching. The important thing, you must practice it, self-effort. And then for monk, is monastic discipline. I mean, monastic discipline means to have a fast path. Because layman term, we don't know how many lives then we get enlightened. So those who become monk are those who seek for this shortcut. That means it will elevate you in the higher practice, that you can surpass other lay people, that you will be reaching, hopefully you can reach Nibbana in the earliest time, with lay people supporting monks and gain merit. So this is basically we understand about Theravāda, right? And then coming to Mahāyāna, it's a different. They emphasize on the Bodhisattva idea. Bodhisattva, remember, we too have studied Bodhisattva, especially in the Dhammapada and also the various Buddhist story about Buddha past life as a Bodhisattva. That is what we Bodhisattva idea come about. Because Buddha need to perfect every life. Every life, then he able to elevate himself to higher practice until the last state when he can become a Buddha. Delaying Nirvana. I mean, Bodhisattva idea is not like the Theravāda, you get self-liberation. But here, they claim that they need to delay the Nirvana. According to my professor, don't get hurt. For those who do practicing, according to my professor, this Professor Chandima, this Nirvana, delay Nirvana to help all beings attaining the enlightenment. That means even the last cockroach, you need to savage him to get enlightenment before you yourself get enlightenment. Okay, so even you are qualified to enlightenment, you step the brake, you won't go for enlightenment. You must make sure that the last cockroach also must go to enlightenment. There's a word from my teacher. Don't say I said one. This is my teacher, which I learned just to give you an idea what we mean delaying Nibbana. I mean, you can be reach Nibbana, but you step break, then you have to help all the beings attain enlightenment before you are the last person to go. So the goal is also to become a Buddha. So basically, it's the same as our Theravāda. Idea is to go end in Nirvana, but they say they can save many, many beings before they save themselves. And then they also teach us the Buddha nature, the innate potential for enlightenment in all beings. They said, we, every human, have a Buddha nature. So every human has a potential to be enlightened. This is also similar to our Theravāda, but we need self-practice and realize. Unlike you just talk, but without practice, if without practice, you don't follow as what Buddha preached, how can you be enlightened? So they say everybody is equivalent, can get enlightened by ways. That is what the Mahāyāna is different from Theravāda. Okay? They say Theravāda is more selfish, only care for own self. Okay, we go to the next slide. Then we look at the scripture and teachings. In Theravāda, it follows the Pali canon, the Tipitaka, and is considered the literal word of the Buddha. And then Mahāyāna reject all these Theravāda texts. Okay, none except the core teaching. Other than that, all are rejected. They say all these are not superior. Except for the Mahāyāna, they accept the Pali canon, but reverse that Mahāyāna Sutra, like this Lotus Sutra, Heart Sutta, which attribute to this the Buddha's hidden teaching. They always claim that this is Buddha hidden teaching, which the Theravāda never taught. Okay, that's why they claim that all these new sutra which they discover, according to legend, they say it's hide under the dragon there. The dragon there, I don't know, like that's what those legend they claim that is hidden in the dragon side, the under the care of the dragon. And then the Mahāyāna, they able to recover all this which are taught by our Buddha. So they claim that these sutra are so much superior to the Theravāda. So we come to the next one, practices and riches. For Theravāda, as most of you know, we center on meditation, especially on samadhi, go vipassana. And then for those who want to have fast path, you go for the monastic life. And then for our laymen, we adhere to the 5 precepts. And for the monks, they adhere to the 227 rules of Vinaya, or 317 for the Bhikkhuni. So in Theravāda, there are minimum ritual. In the olden, especially Buddha time, you almost see very little, almost minimum. You can't describe any riches. It's only after Buddha passed away, many these riches these devotees tend to ask for it. Then monk has to oblige. That's why all this like 7 months. Good example in Burmese temple in Singapore. They have no such thing as 7-month practice of this praying to the past ancestor. But because these mass Chinese, they said Mahāyāna have. So Theravāda also must have. So the monk have to oblige. So what they do in a sort of dana way. Okay, they hold a sort of dana for all the monks in the temple on that selected day. And then after doing dana, they give the transfer merits to the departed. This is the only way Theravāda, the monks are forced to give following some pattern of what this Mahāyāna practice. So this can be seen in this modern time. Focus on personal insight into impermanent and non-self. So basically Theravāda is on self-practice. Okay? And we must know the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and study well. It will help us in the path to realization. So the difference in Mahāyāna, it incorporates plenty of chanting, especially you visit all the Mahāyānese temple. Their chanting is more than Theravāda, and plenty of mantras. And especially the 7 month, the Chinese Go Festival 7 month, or the Qingming, the Chinese Qingming, they have elaborate rituals. Good example is Tibetan prayer, whales. Okay, these are all these, and then Pure Land recitation. And on this 7 month or the Qingming, they have this kind of recitation on for the whole day. Okay, so beside the different, it also include devotion to celestial Buddha. This one, our Theravāda Buddha or own Buddha never mention about this, but to them, they include all these celestial Buddha coming. The Amitabha or Amitabha, that one is, and the Bodhisattva example, the Avalokitesvara. This Indian word, but is Chinese. Actually, is a male Bodhisattva, but come to China, because you cannot have a male as a representative of a Bodhisattva. So it's no good for the, especially or for those the other fair sex like the lady or the women. So instead it become a Guan Yin. Okay, so they cook out the story about this Guan Yin, and then after the long history, it replaced by our Chinese the Guan Yin. So this is called Avalokitesvara. Okay, so this is Guan Yin. So these are different of why you see in Mahāyāna and different from Theravāda. So the view on the Buddha, Theravāda, the Buddha is a human teacher. Buddha is a human that come here, he enlightened and come and show us the path and teach us, who attain enlightenment and pass into the Parinirvana, the final situation. So Buddha is no special being. He come back as a human, he realized the truth and taught to the masses, and then after that, he left. But for the Mahāyāna, this Buddha is elevated or what, like glorified. Buddha is a cosmic figure with multiple manifestations, like Amitabha, Vairochana, and teaches the three-body Trikaya doctrine. This is what different from Mahāyāna, from Theravāda. They have these 3 bodies, okay? We are not going to go further on this because these are ideas of these Mahāyāna practices, okay? So you can see many kinds of Buddha and Bodhisattva, especially their practices, which they call for it, okay? If you want to know, go for a degree level, then you study more about Mahāyāna. Then you come to social and cultural roles. In Theravāda, monks are primary practitioners. Lay people, they gain merit to the support and rarely achieve enlightenment. So basically, it's of this nature. And then the Mahāyāna, because they need to satisfy masses, so they open to all lay practitioners with paths like Zen and Pure Land offering accessible practices. You may question, why Zen and Pure Land? If you want to study, give you an idea of what happened when the Buddhism spread to China. Okay, remember there's 18 schools. After Buddha passed away, there's came to be 18 schools. So these 18 schools practice various kind of some practice Vinaya only, some practice Abhidhamma only, some practice Dhamma only, some only practice certain things only. The text only. So all these are brought by the Chinese, the Faxian, and a couple of other monks that went to India, pick up all this stuff and then translated into Chinese. the Chinese call olden time is called Wen Yan Wen. Wen Yan Wen, if you know the Chinese well, it's not a direct translation from Pali into Chinese word with direct understanding meaning. But if you cannot have a direct meaning, they use the Confucius, they use the Tao one, all add in, and then they can't form the word, they use a sound. Okay, so that's why in early translation, it become a very kind of stuff that very hard to explain. It's a mixture of rojak, I call it rojak. Like you have Confucius meaning inside, you have Taoism meaning inside. So there's no direct translation from this. I wouldn't say Pali, it's Sanskrit. So this Sanskrit text translate into Chinese will be very no direct what I call word for word. So those that cannot be translated are represented by the same sound as the Sanskrit term. Okay, that's why you find Confucius and also the Taoism term all can be incorporated to this Chinese translation. What are the key similarities? Okay, that's why they are recognized because of this similarity. For what Vajrayana, including this Mahāyāna, both accept the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, and the concept of karma rebirth. These are so-called the core teachings of Buddha. So any religion, sect or whatever, they claim to be Buddhism, but without this, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, and karma rebirth are not recognized as teaching of the Buddha. Okay, they want to affiliate it to get those Buddhist devotees to come over. Good example, when the previously was a Tian Tao one. That one claim to Buddhist. But they don't have all this teaching, okay? So you should call them a cult, cult Buddhism. It's not Buddhism at all. So they share core ethics like, example, non-violent, compassion, but express them differently, okay? Mahāyāna very good in explanation and using simile, okay? They call it, what? The kind of teaching that able to relate with the masses, okay? Lay people able to accept it well. Okay, so they are slightly different from our Theravāda teaching. Okay, and now we talk about Mahāyāna views. Mahāyāna means great vehicle. They claim that is a great transport, like a big bus that can accommodate many. Mahāyāna followers aim at Buddhahood as their goal or emancipation. Same thing, they also aim to achieve Buddhahood. Theravāda aim at either Arahathood or Pacceka Buddhahood. Okay, so the difference between this, okay, as their goal. So the difference when you write essay about this, Mahāyāna aim for direct Buddhahood. That means everybody want to be a Buddha. Mahāyāna view is that the later goals do not complete emancipation and hence are inferior goals. They claim that, according to the Mahāyāna study, they claim that Arahanthood is something like a force. They say, why are they not tainted, not smeared with taints? I mean, all those, they claim that to be pure Arahant, pure, but how pure are they? So they always question all this about pureness of attaining Arahanthood. So they look down on Arahanthood. So they get that this Arahant are not ensure complete. I mean, Arahant cannot able to achieve complete liberation and hence are inferior goals. So they are sort of secondary important or of non-important. So Mahāyānis call themselves followers of the great vehicle, and others despairingly follower of the other, like we all, Theravāda practice are called lower vehicle, Hinayana. This was put in the early days, in the Buddhist practice, they put Theravāda as Hinayana, that means lower vehicle. But this was disputed during one of the modern Buddhist councils, especially during the Burma time. I think some of all this Sri Lanka time, during a convention. They say cannot use this. You should call ours as Theravāda. Okay. So Theravāda is the most prominent of the Hinayana sects. So thus, from that day onwards, they use the Theravāda to refer to those practice early Buddhism. So especially when you go to the Mahāyāna, I ever visited those Mahāyāna talk and then temple. Some of the monk, Mahāyānese monk, for whatever reason or their kind of wisdom very lagging, they always talk this Theravāda as Hinayana, so means lower vehicle. It's very insulting to especially to those who are practicing this Theravāda. We listen down there. As you listen, you get more boiling, but we should control. I mean, we should not show out. But this monk very foolish or lack of wisdom. So people say that to you, how you react to it, okay? Especially you sitting over a long period of talk, few hours, you keep on referring to this. You making yourself as a what? Buddha even don't mention during his early day when he said those other talk bad about this Buddhism. We should not react so much. So we practice restraint. But this monk practice no restraint. They just bombard as what they want. So this we call them foolish monk, monk without wisdom. Then we come to the next one. How Mahāyāna beginning. We remember the second Buddhist council. If you all still can remember, the second Buddhist council, following the dispute over the 10 irregular practices among of the Vajjan territory, remember, which led the convening of the second Buddhist council at the Vasali, 100 years after the Buddha Parinibbana. So the refusal of the concerned monk to accept the ruling of the council. I mean that those monks, the Vajjan monk, who never agree to the council and never accept the ruling of the council, they reaffirm at the rival council. They form their own council. This called disputed monk. They form a rival council called Mahāsangati and convene concurrently some distance away from the venue of the Theravāda council. That means after the Buddhist second Buddhist council, and then remember the Vajjan have a last following, have a last gathering, and they break away from the mainstream with the support of the lay patron, and they call themselves, this is the first break away, they call the Mahāsanghikas, and it's considered in Buddhist history to be the first schism in the Buddhist order, which led eventually to the proliferation of sects. This is they suppose that to be at the second Buddhist council. Many of these Buddhist sects, they claim that whoever that they who have the right, and then they form their own Buddhist sect. That's why after Buddha passed away, there are many Buddhist sects. Each sect came to be the truth, the word of Buddha. Okay. And if you study Mahāyāna more, especially degree level, they have different saying regarding the split of sect. Okay, all have their own reason, and all have their own sort of doctrine, or what I call refurbished refurbished from the early Pali canon or add in their new one. So this Theravāda attributes the event to disagreement over allegedly by the unvinayit practices of the Vajra monks. So this is according to the Theravāda, this is a starting point of the split of the monk order. So we normally refer this Mahāyāna as a northern school. Mention a number of controversial doctrine position put forward by a monk by the name of Mahādeva as the cause. So they claim that this Mahādeva, he was claimed to be one of the learned monk among these disputed monk to be putting out this controversial doctrine that they further put as the true word of the Buddha. So this is the cause of many, many disputes. And the rationalization of the reason being made by the scholar who impute a composite ground of dispute. And then, if you study degree, there are many scholars, when you're doing the reading, please be careful. The scholar who cited on the Mahāyāna teachings, they make the Theravāda as very inferior. They claim that this teaching by Theravāda are so much value, lots of value to the teaching that they claim that this Theravāda may not be the correct teaching. Okay, they put question mark on it. So that's why if you go degree, you study all these things. In the course of time differences, the doctrinal interpretation has superseded question of discipline. Okay, especially the Vinaya rule. Okay, like our monk, the Vinaya rule. After noon, you can have no more meals. But for the Mahāyāna, you are like lay person, you can eat whatever time you want. So they got no discipline of this. But they put a part on the what? No eating of meat. Okay, they put it as a very, unlike Theravāda, not pure. They say that we eating meat. It's not pure. Okay, so all these dispute all start to come out, especially the Vinaya rules. Because Vinaya rules, the Theravāda one is very strict. You break any of these rules, you'll be disrupted, especially you make those serious one. So Vinaya had remained substantially free from open dispute thereafter. I mean to say, they also, if they break so many Vinaya rules, that all the Vinaya rules need to be trained. So this Mahāyāna try not to make as many changes as possible. Those minor changes they change. Because if the monk is free like lay people, how to respect them, right? So that's why in Vinaya rules, the Mahāyāna don't want to say too much about this. Okay, that's why certain things which up to their preference, especially the comfort level which this Mahāyāna practice, which they want it, they change. But other than that, they try not to touch it because it will lower down the value of the monk discipline. Okay, so but sad to say, many of them have a liberal attitude towards the Vinaya, unlike the Theravāda monks. Okay, so Mahāyāna making changes. Following the Second Buddhist Council, the success of the dissenting monks to assert their standpoint on matter of doctrine and discipline is treated as a opening floodgates for more liberal interpretation of the teaching of the Buddha. This is a very true thing. After this Second Buddhist Council, many of the teaching of these early Buddhist Buddha teachings are changed or make it into what more kind of fantastic idea that the early Buddhism we don't tend to see it. So you can see what you call liberal interpretation of the teaching of the Buddha. That's why you study Mahāyāna, you'll be surprised to see many of the teaching. They especially love to use this word, skillful teaching. Okay, skillful teachings, especially simile. For the Lotus Sutra, they use plenty of this simile of this, how they try to explain the teaching in the Lotus Sutra. They use a lot of simile. One subject that has developed by the liberal interpreters as a concept of the Buddha. So the same thing, when you change, you must call for authenticity of the Buddha. So they claim that all these are the words of Buddha.
Lau.
Yes.
Sorry, what is skillful teaching in Chinese means what?
Skillful teaching.
Chinese means what? Chinese saying
I mean,
how?
they have a way to explain it to make you understand easier, and then understand it more in a so-called everyday life. Okay, they compare it with, like good example, one of Lotus Sutra.
They try to make it more practicable in the daily life.
To the masses. One good example I can quote to you I studied before is when you try to save people, they claim that in this there's a burning house of a couple of children inside inside this burning house and playing inside. And then how to get them out? You can't get them out. Children attract to playing those play things. How to get them out? So this father have to, important thing is to rescue the kid. So how are you going to do it? So he has to conceive a white lie, white lie that he has super toys that the kids will be very interested in order to save them from burning house. So he said this white lie able to attract all these children from a burning house to quickly came out from the burning house in order to save all of them. So this is a way, one good example in the Lotus Sutra. They say this is how we call skillful teaching to help many people who can be saved. Right? So this is one of the ways. You next time you are free, you can go to the Lotus Sutra, you read through. Non-Theravāda teachers were the first to compile the biography of the Buddha. That's why in this Mahāyāna text, you can see many of the fantastic idea of this Buddha biography. Because our Buddha has very little literature regarding his early life. These are all taken out from early sutta and later joined together to form the history of our Buddha. Okay? This is how Theravāda later on, they basically get the history of our Buddha. In the misconceived and boundless favor for glorification Buddha, they elevated the personality of the Buddha from one of the humanity to a state of transcendental absolute. This is one, I don't know, is good or is it bad? Okay. In this Mahāyāna, they put a lot of glorification of the Buddha, and they elevate the personality of Buddha. Buddha is actually a human, but instead become measure up to the God kind of level. Okay, this is, I'm trying to say transcendental is something like measure up to the God kind of level, which our normal methods try to associate with. Okay, so that's why you see Mahāyāna, a lot of things those beyond our Theravāda teachings. They codify Buddha into such a personality that is beyond a human. Okay, if you want to study more, please go and join the degree level. You will learn more things about this. This trend culminated in the conception of Trikaya doctrine, the Dhammakaya, as earlier said. What is Dhammakaya? It's an embodiment of the teaching of Nimanakaya. That means the image of the appearance in the world, and the Samogakaya, universal Buddha. I mean, Buddha in the present world, I mean, when he was alive in this world, and the Samogakaya world is like universal Buddha. I mean, a Buddha that is present at all times. All right, you call him, he will answer to you. That's the concept, universal Buddha. It's something related to this Indian Atman Brahman. Atman Brahman, the Brahman is called a universal soul or universal being. So they try to relate this something up to this kind of standard that he is present, invisible, but all times you can call upon him. So this is called the Trikaya doctrine. That means you have the Dhammakaya, the teaching, and then the Namakaya, the image when he was alive, and then the Samokaya, the universal Buddha. So this is the Trikaya. Okay, this Trikaya terms is also present in also the this Hinduism, or what I call the Brahmanism. They have this Trimuti. So even in this the Christianity, they have this tri thing also. So this is a concept which is quite similar to the other two. So the segmentation of the Buddhist order into sects, which originate simultaneously with the Second Buddhist Council, proceed gathering momentum. So all these sects which formed later after the Second Buddhist Council, they left these Ganges, they spread all over northern India, and then come some to the Kashmir, some into Afghanistan, and now the current Pakistan. Down there, they form their own kind of school. So the split widened in the course of time, and several sects came into existence after a succession schism. And within nearly 200 years, the period of 200 years, there had come into being 11 subsects under Theravāda. So subsect Theravāda, they consider there are 11 of it, and then 17 under the Mahāsangika. So upon this Second Buddhist Council, even Theravāda kind, they also split. So total 11 plus 7, those called 18 school. So if you go for degree level, you study this 18 school. What are they teaching all about? Okay, and then you'll be surprised. Some of these school, they start having this soul theory coming in. Pugala. Suppose Buddhism don't have soul, but this idea of soul idea, because they can't explain the rebirth consciousness, they cannot accept the rebirth consciousness, they keep referring it as a soul. Okay, so this, you may know that these are influenced from the other school of thought. So after that, many,
sorry, this is not 12 and 6. 11 and 7. It is not 12 Mahāsangika.
No, this is talking about this after the Second Buddhist Council, no?
Because last time we studied 12 and 6, right? Now become 11 and 7.
You can check this.
No, the first book is 12 and 6,
12 and 6. Okay, whatever whatever you want to make to changes, you read. You trade into books down there with a remark in the Theravāda, in the YMBA text. So just follow closely to YMBA text. These are various sources which some may be accurate, not accurate. I can't authenticate that every word is true. Okay.
Okay.
So despite the efforts of Emperor Asoka to strengthen the Theravāda wing, the non-Theravāda sect developed, gaining strength from many historical events and circumstances. Okay, come to the Third Buddhist Council, even Emperor Asoka tried to straighten it to make Theravāda pure, but those that are thrown out from the Sangha are further developed, and then they form even more school. Okay, this school they create the recognized by this so-called the Mahāyānis or whatever they call it. They call it the Fourth Buddhist Council, right? They recognized by all the Mahāyānis, and all their teachings are all accepted. Here you mentioned here. This Fourth Buddhist, this one is different from our this Theravāda Fourth Buddhist Council, which is in Sri Lanka. This one is according to this Mahāyāna one, under the patronage of King Kanishat. This in Kashmir side is one that later development about 100 AD. It provides incentive to the non-Theravāda sects. They too also call themselves the Fourth Buddhist Council. So Mahāyāna as a distinct school came into prominence with a contribution. That time the Mahāyāna don't claim to be Sanskrit. It's only at this when they have this particular scholar. This distinct school came prominent with a contribution of great philosopher of Nagarjuna, 2nd AD. This even further. So after this one, the school even have more, but this particular philosopher is a Mahāyānis, is called Nagarjuna. His one is about the prasna and also the void, which he put a very prominent part and making it so great that this Mahāyāna, the name flourished. The council makes Sanskrit the vehicle of Mahāyāna scripture. So at this Kanishat time, this Fourth Buddhist Council, not recognized by our Theravāda, it was compiled in Sanskrit. So the lineage of Sanskrit scholars provide a series of learned texts to explicate the Mahāyāna doctrine. Okay, so remember, Sanskrit is a word used for the Vedas, which is a Brahmanic practice, or what I call the modern day Hinduism. They are all written in Sanskrit. So all this is different from our Pali canon, all in Sanskrit. And then you also need to know famous university like Nalanda, Virakamasila, etc. They are not Theravāda university, they are Mahāyānis university. They become seats of Mahāyāna Buddhist learning in later times. Especially when you see the Fa Xian, they visit all these places. All these texts which they gather and later send back to China. All right. You want to know more? Go for the degree level. Then we look at the Maya development. Maya development as a distinct religious system evolved on two levels. While certain concepts which exist in early Buddhism in Germany, from the West, were developed into full-blown doctrine with new emphasis. So you can see that many of these Mahāyāna doctrine have some basis in the Theravāda early Buddhism, and then they put a lot of changes in new emphasis, and new doctrine were developed as new acceleration. I mean, become a new idea or new kind of doctrine to replace the old doctrine of the so-called Theravāda. So the Bodhisattva idea is a notable distinguished characteristic of the Mahāyāna system. That's why when you don't recognize the Arahant idea, you need to have something replaced. So they emphasize a lot on Bodhisattva. So Bodhisattva, as a result, replaced the so-called Arahant idea, that it becomes so prominent that it becomes a part of Mahāyāna working towards Buddhahood. So Bodhisattva, by the definition, is the aspirant to the Buddhahood. So everyone wants to be a Buddha. So Mahāyānis converted Bodhisattva into a divine being. They became a ritual of the Mahāyānis. Right? That's why you see, especially in their so-called rituals, they call upon many of these Bodhisattva. I also don't know, I only know a few. So when you go for Mahāyāna, those kind of rituals, you will see those bodhisattva appearing one after another. I stop here for 10-minute break. And okay, stop here, then we continue in 10 minutes time.